Hello and welcome to the Superhero Hub. I'm Sam,
I'm at
and today we're going to be opening up.
the superhero files.
Yep. And what page do we fall on today?
Harley Quinn.
Yep. We're finally doing it. Now, this character is an interesting one because, as opposed to normal comic book characters, Harley Quinn was conceptualized in animated television form first and then went on to the comic books, as opposed to as many general comic book adaptations they get film, TV, game, whatever. So Harley Quinn, based off the kind of Harley Quinn, kind of like jester figures or whatever. So Harleen Francis Quinzel, created by Paul Dini. Is that how you say his name?
Dini.
Oh, Dini and Bruce Timm with two M's. First appearance in Batman the Animated Series in September 1992. So generally, for a kind of some people may disagree, some people may agree, but a kind of big kind of nowadays staple Batman and Joker kind of things. She's only really been around for like 15 years,
I mean, she is a
20
big
years,
staple. It's whether
25
you,
years.
you what from '92. It was the same year we were born. It's 25 years.
Yeah, 25 years. Whoops. I'm older than Harley Quinn. Boom.
Yeah.
So yeah, so it's interesting, but she has kind of heavily featured. I mean, in the Arkham games, she featured in every single one of them heavily. The animated TV shows, she's featured heavily. I mean,
And in the comics too. I mean, since she was introduced in the comics, a lot of people. We'll get to it later, but a lot of people think she's overexposed. I would kind of go to that as well, but there's no doubt she's the biggest thing to come out of the animated series.
so you think she should wear more jackets and trousers as opposed to the shorts and small tops,
Sure, that's it.
overexposed? Right. So yeah, first appearance in the animated series 1992. The episode being the Joker's Favor. The first comic book appearance was in the Batman Adventures issue 12 in September 1993. So a
Right.
year later.
but that but that was not the main DC
Yeah.
continuity. I think that was the comic adaptation of the TV show, right?
Yeah, so the main DC universe continuity was Batman Harley Quinn issue 1 in October 1990.
9.
Yep, you betcha. So, I mean, just a quick run into literally the kind of history of the character. In the Joker's Favor, originally it was meant to be a walk-on role where she was meant to burst out of. Yeah, apparently she was going to burst out of a cake because originally Joker was supposed to do it, but then they thought, oh no, that'd be a bit too weird for him to do that. But they ended up just letting him do it anyway. So from that, Denis decided to, let's create a kind of female sidekick accomplice to kind of go with the Joker. The inspiration of the character, Arlene Sorkin, the actress from Days of Our Lives, obviously they were friends. I think she appeared in the dream sequence in a jester costume on the program as well, and they kind of incorporated the personality of a mutual friend of both of theirs, who had a similar kind of relationship, not abusive relationship, but a tumultuous one. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
In the Batman Adventures Mad Love, it recounted the origin of Dr. Harleen Francis Quinzel, PhD, as a psychologist who falls in love and becomes an accomplice with the Joker. Obviously, I mean, some of the people who watched Suicide Squad, it kind of recounted it there. She helps the Joker escape. Obviously, there's other things that go on. She helps him escape, but then Batman returns him and is all slapped up, and that, and I quote, drives her insane. Seeing her pudding slapped up, which is kind of weird, you know what I mean?
Yeah, but I mean,
Because they touched on that in the Arkham Origins, I think it was. They did a flashback sequence there where like he was brought in and she was kind of fawning over him about how like the Batman beat him up and stuff like that, and how he was kind of like, oh, poor you, but it's just like, yo, knock it off. So yeah, she also, which is a main staple of the comic books, at this point she befriends Poison Ivy, who
Mm.
gives her a antitoxin injection, which also gives her speed, agility, enhanced strength, and a resistance to toxins, akin to obviously when the Joker fell into the vat of acid, he's immune to poisons and toxins as well. What do you think about that? Because it looked.
That's part of one of the developments I could have done about. I don't need her to be super. I think. I suppose part of my bias will come in. I never really wanted Harley Quinn to be bigger or perceived as bigger than the Joker. I preferred it when she was a sidekick. Um,
A
but
sidekick?
yeah, she's
Oh,
Joker's
sidekick. I
sidekick.
thought you said psychic.
But no, sidekick. But you can't really deny her popularity, so I guess eventually you got to make movements.
A lot of people, because obviously the main staple of it's an abusive relationship between her and the Joker. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
She's very expendable in the sense that he'll ditch her, he'll use her as a distraction, he'll even try to kill her at times and stuff like that. And I think a lot of kind of it's interesting because away from the Joker, I mean, we'll get onto that later, but away from the Joker, she's kind of she can stand by herself like really well. You know what I mean? Some of the storylines, she's kind of like a good character by herself, and working with the Gotham City Sirens as well. So she's like, it's not like she needs to be tied to the Joker, but I think a lot of popularity itself is that she is a kind of strong female character. But I think a lot of people can kind of apply themselves to her in the fact of like an abusive relationship.
She is, but that's part of the issue with the character. It's the to and fro of, you know, no one should overpower the Joker except for Batman. And so if you've got them together, it should be abusive. But then you've got this thing now where, personally, I don't think, in my opinion, Harley Quinn never should have become a role model for children. She's a murderous psycho. But it's happened, it is what it is. So you're shifting her towards making her a hero. So if you're going to do that, I think you probably should keep her away from the Joker.
hmm Uh, Other comics she's appeared in. She appeared in No Man's Land, Elseworlds, The Thrill Killer, kind of part of that. The comic book version is less humorous and more dangerously violent than the animated version. So obviously, as you said, a role model to children. Obviously, exposed to her in the kind of animated sense, she was more like ha ha ha, as opposed to splatting people's heads.
Yeah, you were meant to feel sympathy for her and feel sorry for her because the Joker was such a jerk. And also in the cartoon, they kind of played that they sort of loved each other anyway.
Yeah. Um, as well as being dangerously violent in the comic books, she's also shown a compassionate side when she stopped Poison Ivy from killing Batman, where obviously Batgirl comes along and ends up saving him. She's still linked to the Joker, but it's confirmed that they are in a non-monogamous romantic relationship. Even though you never really see Joker messing about with any other woman, right?
It's more for Harley Quinn. She's got this thing with Poison Ivy, which they're trying to kind of play up without playing it up.
You're not feeling that either, no.
No, not really.
Mm. Um, in the Harley Quinn ongoing series, she went solo, started a gang, and left Gotham for Metropolis with Poison Ivy. Harley Quinn then goes on to die, only to be resurrected. When she returns to Gotham, she admits herself to Arkham Asylum, saying that she needs help.
Yeah.
Um, she also appeared in Hush, Villains United, and Villains United, the Infinite Crisis Special Edition. She appeared in 1 year later as kind of like a cameo where she was a patient in Arkham. In Batman issue 663, she helped Joker kill some former henchmen of their organisation, but the punchline of the joke is that he tries to kill Harley Quinn, but she manages to outmaneuver him and shoot him in the shoulder. So that itself is of pertinence to their abusive relationship, whereas the punchline of the joke is, "Oh, I'm just going to kill you."
Right. Which is how, again, that's how it should be. Ultimately, the Joker should want to put her down. If you're gonna want to make her a hero, then it should be her goal to get away from him and try and get better.
Yeah.
Which ultimately will never happen because comic books, drag on forever.
Well, from that appearance in Detective Comics issue 831, she applies for parole from Arkham Asylum, but keeps gets that rejected by Bruce Wayne, who happens to be a member of the medical commission. She's then approached by Peyton Riley, who you'll know is the female replacement of Arnold Wesker, the ventriloquist, where she's kind of, yo, let's do this together, but out of respect for Arnold, who kind of tried to cheer her up when she first, on her first week of Arkham, she's like, nah, I'm not interested, and she ends up working with Batwoman and Commissioner Gordon to get her arrested and recaptured, in which Batman saw it as a redemption and offered her parole, in which she accepted. She also appeared in Birds of Prey issue 105, where she's revealed to be the sixth member of the infamous Secret Six, but she ends up leaving 3 issues later because there's infighting, and apparently Oracle tries to set up Deadshot in some a variation, so she ends up leaving. In Countdown to the in Countdown to the Final Crisis, also known colloquially as Countdown, issue 43, she is reformed. She's changed her ways, and she befriends Holly Robinson, who is,
I don't know,
Catwoman.
right, the other one, yeah.
Yeah, they're brought to Themyscira to become Amazon training, because they're like in an Amazon shelter. So they get taken there. They meet up with Athena, who turns out to be Granny Goodness.
Oh, thank God.
Yeah, so they kind of reveal this and get Granny Goodness sent back to Apocalypse. Harley's granted power as a reward, but when she returns back to kind of Gotham City, she loses them, but she gets powers. In the Gotham City Sirens, which is probably like a big thing, she teamed.
Gotham City Sirens. Isn't that what they're making a movie about?
Yeah. They're making a movie. She teams up with Poison Ivy and Catwoman again. In issue 7, she's revealed to be from Brooklyn. Her father's a con artist in jail, and her brother Barry is what can only be described as a waste man, a flunky, a rusty nail, a beef stew, a baghead who's trying to be in a band. I thought I'd just clear it up. And her mother Sharon wants Harley to give up the Gotham City Siren stuff, the whole hero villain stuff. It's revealed that she became a psychologist so she could understand her family better. But I've just explained it for you, girl. Waste man. This is where it gets good. Eventually, Harley betrays the team to break into Arkham Asylum to kill the Joker for everything that he's done to her, but she ends up teaming up with him, and they take over Arkham Asylum, but then they're taken down by Batman and Catwoman, who kind of defers over to Batman's side and betrays Ivy and her. Harley's then locked up and then Ivy breaks in to Arkham Asylum to kill her, but then they strike a deal to kill Catwoman, so they kind of, it gets crazy. So they plan to kill Catwoman, but then when they confront her, Catwoman's like, "Oh, I've seen a glimmer of hope in you," So so they end up not killing her, and then Catwoman ends up helping them escape from Arkham. So
Oh,
craziness.
that sounds terrible.
So that's pretty much. What do you know of her New 52 stuff?
Oh, nothing.
She was pretty much reformed, like changed her outfit and stuff like that, and kind of carried on the kind of finagle with the kind of rudimentary stuff over the years, but kind of changed her costume up. She's kind of been a main staple of the Arkham games, obviously Arkham Asylum, Arkham City, and obviously after the Joker died, I mean, it kind of refers to the comic in the sense that with the Joker being dead, she's started her own kind of operation going without him, and she's kind of standing by herself. She's also heavily featured in cartoons. She featured in the Birds of Prey TV show, really kind of loosely based as a
Yeah.
character, loosely based on her. Generally,
Bear in mind that came out in, I think, like 2002. So Harley had only been around for about 10 years by that point.
yeah, so she's generally voiced by Tara Strong. In the new Batman and Harley Quinn, she's being voiced by Melissa Raunch. Um, Obviously, you'll know she's played by Margot Robbie in Suicide Squad, and she is going to be portrayed again by Margot Robbie in Gotham City Sirens, which will probably play off the kind of series there. So there's going to be a lot of messing about whether they're going to feature the Joker in there or not.
It's a tricky question, isn't it? How did you feel about her in Suicide Squad?
I mean, she played the role, didn't she?
She did. I'm not talking about Robbie specifically, just the character. I think she was fine.
Well, I think they cut so much out of the thing and variated it, because generally it was going to be a lot like the comics, because there were scenes in there where the Joker was abusive. In the helicopter scene where she falls out and it ends up crashing and blowing up, originally he smacks her out and tries to throw her to her death, but she ends up landing on the roof and stuff like that. And then
that was missing. They needed that.
Yeah, and then at the end, like, he confronts her at the end, and he's like, "Yo, come with me, let's go," and she's like, "Nah, I'm not interested," and she stays with the team. So there's a lot of there was a lot from the comics, kind of resonated with her in the film as well, but they cut the majority of that out, so you don't really see that side of her. But she's a kind of, in the shadow of the Joker, she's a very tortured character. I mean, I mean, in terms of character, not so much abilities and stuff like that. She uses mallets, baseball bats, knives, stuff like that, the kind of trick stuff. She hasn't, obviously, if you draw from the kind of poison ivy formula, she's got an immunity to toxins and poisons like the Joker. She's got enhanced agility, speed, and strength and stuff like that. Not that it's like crazy. Not that she's like punching through walls, but it's just like, yo, if you wonder how she kind of goes through all this stuff and survives, it's a kind of throwback to that.
The thing with Harley is having her around with the Joker makes for a different story.
Yeah.
And sometimes that can be great, but sometimes it just gets in the way. I know a lot of people, well, maybe that's a stretch, but certainly some people were disappointed there was no Harley in The Dark Knight. If you put her in that, the movie's different.
Yeah, because it's very much they can't get out of their own way.
Right.
You know what I mean? Unless one of them gets killed, and then they stand alone. When they stand alone, you kind of have the personality and the kind of, because Harley is a kind of personality. You know what I mean? As you saw in Suicide Squad. But like when they're together, it's very restrictive. You know what I mean? As like reminiscent of an abusive relationship where they can't get out their own way. Certain freedoms are sacrificed. So in the sense, if you're going to portray that on screen, storyline, it's going to be the same thing.
Right, and the same thing goes to Robin. Batman '89, obviously that predates Harley, but Robin was originally meant to be in that movie. If he was, the movie would have been different. You're taking the focus off Batman and the Joker. So she is a good character. I'm looking forward to seeing more of her, hopefully in a better movie. But I don't need to see her every time the Joker's going to pop up in the DC EU or whatever they're calling it.
Yeah, I agree because I think she can stand by herself. I think with Catwoman and with Poison Ivy and Gotham City Sirens, I think that's going to be that could work really well. It just depends. Okay, if you ain't got the Joker in it and you haven't got those restrictions, is there going to be the kind of underlying sexual chemistry and kind of her and Poison Ivy and stuff like that? Do you think that would be of detriment? Obviously you're
It's
gonna
not gonna
like
be.
it, but I mean, visually it's gonna be nice to look at. But in terms of storytelling, do you think that's gonna be of detriment?
No, not really. But will they go for it? Who knows? And there might be undertones of it, but I don't think they'd make a big deal out of it. You know what I mean? Almost ultimately, I don't think they're gonna make a movie because you think that would lead to the Joker coming in. Like they're not gonna pay attention to that in a Batman movie.
Yeah.
There might be undertones of it, but it's not going to be a big thing. I don't think.
And the kind of problem with that as well, I mean, as in the Gotham City Sirens comic, is like she's fine, and then she interacts with the Joker, then she switches sides, and then with the Joker out the way, she switches sides again. It's always, I mean, if they don't feature together, but they end up coming across each other, their relationship's always going to be a plot device for her to switch sides. You feel me?
Right, and if it isn't written strongly enough, it's going to come off lackluster, like it kind of did in Suicide Squad, whether you like the movie or not. When
The
you get to
Oscar
the
winning Suicide Squad, I will add.
yes, when you get to the bar scene and you don't really buy it with Harley, when you get to this, definitely at the end when she picks up the gun, like it's not developed enough.
Yeah, they didn't kind of she in the sense that she in that film she's kind of all like Harley Quinn now, but then like every so often she makes like psychologist remarks like she made to Deadshot, and when she's kind of in the bar and stuff like that, it was a strong scene and stuff like that. But when she starts, psychologically analysing the other characters, you think, well, wait a minute, she's Harley Quinn, you know what I mean? She's not Dr. Harley Quinn's out. Every kind
Mhm.
of, unless she's literally fully reformed, there's none of that left. You know what I mean? She lives purely for the Joker, her pudding. So that is pudding, pudding, pudding. Um, so that is literally maybe even more than you need to know about Harley Quinn. You know what I mean? But that's what the superhero files does. It does you good. I'm Sam,
On that,
and we'll see you next time we open
the superhero files.